Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with the Daily Racing Form. We're going to take a look at race number 7 this Saturday at Santa Anita Park. It's at 6.5 furlongs on the downhill, the grade 3 Senorita. This is for fillies, 3-year-olds strictly. We'll take a look at the field top to bottom real quick. 7 have been entered and it's very competitive. The Wild Grazer is one that's going to be cutting back in distance and has had success at 6.5 furlongs. Tina Ella, the daughter of Beholder, raced very well last time out while trying stakes competition for the first time. AG Bullet. I mean, there's just so many in here that I think have a really good shot, what makes this a competitive race, even with just 7 runners. So we'll start with the number 1, the Wild Grazer. This one out of the Jeff Mullins barn is actually going to race with blinkers off. They tried the blinkers last time out. Certainly it didn't work at all. She took a lot of play in there. She ended up finishing last. She was well beaten by over 20 lengths in the end in the China Doll. We're actually going to take a look, though, at her race 2 back, which is a much better effort. It was in the Lady Shamrock going a mile. Back in the middle of February, you can see she's co-favored in this race with also Ag Bullet, the 3 who she'll face on Saturday. But looking at their numbers in here, you can see the 4 is Ag Bullet, the 3 is the Wild Grazer. And at this point, the horse on the front is just going to get the job done. But she was trying to, in terms of the Wild Grazer, hold off a charge from several others in there. And she dig deep in the stretch. And she doesn't miss by much in the end. Now, I know that's at a mile. She's cutting back to 6.5. But I really like that for her because when you look at the 5 furlong effort at Del Mar and then 3 starts back when she was able to follow up her maiden score with a win, that was at 6.5. And not that she can't race at a mile, but I just think 6.5 on the downhill. She's going to get the pace set up that she needs. She's 3-1 on the morning line. New rider compared to her other starts. Hector Barrios has the call. The number 2, Tina Ellis, who will go to next. This one trained by Richard Mandela, was able to finally have that breakthrough performance 2 back in her first effort on the turf. As I mentioned earlier, a daughter of Beholder. She was pretty impressive last time out. We're looking at this race from March 26th when she finishes second in the Angel Flight, and Fast and Shiny just has the jump on everyone at this point. And you can see Tina Ella is trying to cut into that margin, and she does a good job of doing so. But it just kind of ended up being that these two kind of went 1-2 around the track, and she was unable to catch her in the end. But I thought it was a good performance. She did get a 78 by her speed figure for the effort. And I think she's kind of a contender in here. When you look at her 2 turf races, she's really stepped up since the surface change. And it's hard to knock her knowing that she was able to race quite well last time out at 6.5. The number 3, Ag Bullet. This one is very interesting to look at because she's got a similar story. She debuted on dirt. She really didn't pick up her hooves, and then they put her on the turf. She was able to graduate very impressively at 6.5. Then was able to come back with another win at a mile. And more recently, they put her in the Bourbon at Oaks, maybe to see if she would be able to take to the synthetic surface at Turfway Park. And she finished mid-pack. And you're talking about the fillies that she faced in that day. Botanical will be racing in the Kentucky Oaks. There's just deeper waters than she's going to face at Santa Anita Park in the Senorita. So she's intriguing. She does have a fair bit of early speed, but I think looking at others in here, I don't think she's the fastest. So she might be actually have to kind of just sit off the pace early on. The number 4, Procrastination. This one out of the Michael McCarthy barn was second last out in her first effort on the turf. Prior to that, she had strictly been a dirt type. She was able to graduate on debut. They tried her in the grade 2 Sorrento, where she was just second best in that field. And I think her turf effort most recently, it was a good effort. I wasn't really amazed from a numbers perspective. Several others in here have better numbers, especially on the grass. So she'll need to step up. She's 8-1 on the morning line. The number 5, Chismosa. This is an intriguing filly by Clubhouse Ride, who's undefeated in her career. She's 3 for 3. She's basically circled at least part of or most of the field in all of her tries. They've all been at Del Mar back in July, August, and September of 2022. They've tried her from anywhere to 5 to 6 furlongs. So you have a couple questions. The layoff is a question, and the surface. And, to me, I think it's more of a wait and see approach. Her works have not necessarily, at least her last 2, maybe more maintenance, especially that last one. She did have a 6 furlong drill, though, in preparation for this back on April 22nd. Prior to that, she had fired some very impressive bullets, 4 or 5 furlongs. It's just a little bit of an unknown. She certainly has showed some talent on the dirt at Del Mar, but going to be a different sort of circumstance on Saturday. The number 6, Tom's Regret. This is the longest shot on the board, was second last out in the Evening Jewel behind Ceiling Crusher. She's another one going to try the turf for the first time. She did have a synthetic race, though, at Golden Gate. She finished third after being the pace setter and tiring. It's been interesting to watch her races. She's been impressive on the front end when she's gotten an easy lead. She's been able to kind of draw clear when she stays pressured. As we mentioned, 2 starts back, she did tire. This one's trained by Steve Miotti, Kyle Frey with the mount. And then rounding out the field on the outside is Bob Baffert's number 7, Fast and Shiny, who we saw in the Angel Flight, just got to the front and said goodbye at that point. Prior to that, she had some turf efforts, but they were going at the mile distance. So the cutback seemed to suit her really well. Prior to her most recent win, she actually had a win on the dirt, and she's very quick. So it looks like in terms of a pace perspective, we have to think that she's going to be forwardly placed and very close, if not on the lead, is going to try to do what she did last time out. But with that said, looking at the field, I think the pace is going to be hot. And for that reason, I actually go to the number 1, the Wild Grazer. I think this horse is going to get the pace set up that she needs. I also think the cutback in distance, because the pace will be hot, will really help her. She's raced well at the mile in that effort 2 back. But I just think 6.5 is going to be right for her from there. I do use the number 2, Tina Ella, who I think is going to be close to the pace and have a really nice chance to kind of make a move in the stretch. I also use the 7, Fast and Shiny, who is scary from that pace perspective. And then I round it out with the 3 as my 4th pick in this race. But I'm hoping for a pace meltdown. I'm hoping that the number 1, the Wild Grazer, gets the job done in the grade 3, Senorita. Good luck.